100% behind Q. He's working for the president, he's working for our country.
Alien life, like pedophiles, and it just seeks to tie all of that together.
Welcome, listeners, to the 16th chapter of the QAnon Anonymous podcast, the Soros Rent Boys Bang Bus episode. I'm your host, Jake.
And I'm your co-host, Julian. We're here with the original Tapwater Goblin, Travis Few. Travis, it was recently revealed that I pour you out into my sink before each episode to give you some breathing time and let you guest on the podcast. Now that the truth is out, do you feel like a weight has been lifted from your shoulders?
Huge relief. That's been revealed. I am Odo from Star Trek 9. I just slid under the door today.
Travis, before we jump into some breaking news, I know that you've been swimming the deep, dark waters of Lake Q, and you refuse to use condoms.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's a tough choice. I understand it, though, and I respect it. What's been going on with the QAnon community? What's the latest and greatest?
Well, just today, Trump tweeted a insult to Adam Schiff, except he misspelled it Adam Shit.
Classic.
Yes, yeah, he replaced the two F's at the end of Adam Schiff's name with two T's.
Yeah.
And
really
the QAnon community noticed that the two F's were missing. And of course, misspellings matter in the QAnon community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so they thought the two F's would meant false flag. Yes.
Oh my
F-
God.
False flag.
Why would he take it out then?
Well, it was code. It was telling the QAnon community to pay attention to what's missing.
Yeah.
It's like jazz. You listen to the notes that are missing.
He's like, this is actually about a false flag.
Right? Yeah. And they think that it's sort of a code about the false flag, the California fires. How these are false flags. And this was a secret code. So that's what they've been up to just today.
I mean, it's clearly like a juvenile insult that he's levying at this guy, right?
Oh,
there's
of course.
there's no way to interpret this as
that's what Trump is best at doing. He's like, I'm gonna take a strategy that I used in second grade on the playground. I'm going to apply it here today on Twitter.
That's correct.
And people go fucking nuts over it.
course,
They're
it's
like,
like,
I just saw on CNN, it was like, Adam Schiff responds to Trump insult. It's like, Jesus Christ.
But what I love is, you have your levels of intelligence, right? So the guy's like, Adam Schiff, more like Adam shit. And then like some people are like, that is so embarrassing. Other people are like, that's pretty funny, dude. Yeah. And then other people still are like, it's code. It's code. That takes a whole level of fucking galaxy brain to go there.
Yeah, this is why I love the QAnon community. They operate like from like the opposite of Occam's razor. Just like
I was just thinking that yesterday. Yeah. I was like, I there's no application of Occam's razor in the QAnon community. They never want the simple answer. It's just impossible for them to just be like, well, yep, he said that because he wanted to say that.
Oh, he's making a poop joke, which is really the simplest answer, probably the most accurate one. But they want to go from like the most craziest, most elaborate, Byzantine answer that they can find.
Yeah, it's like you take out the two F's, and when you remove the two F's, instead of it actually meaning that you're removing a false flag, it actually means to watch out for one potentially coming Tuesday.
I mean, they literally think this guy is Professor Xavier from the X-Men. So they're like, if he said poopy, he must have meant I communicate with all hearts and souls across this nation, and I'm spiritually, he's designated to lead you.
He spelled it P-U-P-E-E.
Oh man!
And the last Q drop was just his prediction of the final Senate outcome.
Yeah, he finally got those numbers right. The 53-47 that wasn't matching.
Yeah, he finally got it after a couple. Now I wonder if QAnon is in fact the real deal. If they did some dirty behind the scenes election dealings to make sure that number lined up.
Yeah, it doesn't. The thing that's funny is like they already had spent a good amount of time saying, well, he misleads on purpose, like that. This makes sense that he would do the number wrong or whatever. So they had already done the work to go there. It's very hard then to go, oh, see, it came. I knew it.
Yeah, this has gone through a lot of iterations. Obviously, when the first time that Q said 53-47, it was suspected it was going to be the Kavanaugh vote.
Of course,
And
yeah.
that wound up being 50-48. And then they said like, oh, actually, it was the vote on this sort of this arms sale to Saudi Arabia. It was calling attention to that. And other people said like, oh, it was 53 minus 47, which is 6. And other people said that, oh, actually, 53 was the age of Kavanaugh, and then 47 is the age of Amy Barrett, who a lot of people think is going to be next in line to be on the Supreme Court. And so it was these two ages, and then finally, because it's looking like the Senate's going to be 53-47, they decided, oh,
Thank God.
that's what it is. That's what it is the whole time.
Well,
Sweet-
and
sweet Jesus,
The
thank
funny
you.
thing is that like, okay, well, if that's what he meant all along, so we're supposing that QAnon somehow knew the end result of
Yes.
these elections that were still ongoing, which would then mean that
it's
Q
rigged or
himself
something?
is election meddling, which is exactly what the community
Right.
is rallying against in Arizona and for a while in Florida
I
and
can't
Georgia.
tell. I can't tell if Q is Nancy Pelosi or Wolf Blitzer. It's definitely one of them too, because just the awful predictions, the inconsistent lines of thought. But also there was an issue with the Red Cross recently. With this, the Red Cross was a Q villain, but then
Yes.
Trump said something positive about the Red Cross, and now there's a big.
This was another issue. Yeah, and many Q drops. In fact, one last year, this has been going for a long time. Q called the Red Cross corrupt. And
He's not actually wrong. They are
Yeah.
as far as other NGOs go, like they are legendarily bad at getting the money that's given to them to the actual causes. That
Right, because they're spending it on trafficking children.
Nope,
Right,
nope.
right.
That's
It's
not what
just-
I'm trying to
that's what
say.
I'm saying.
Not in
Yeah.
any way what I'm trying to go and say.
So they think that it's corrupt on the level of like trafficking children.
Right.
It's sort of a means to get some more adrenochrome.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
course.
but recently there was a text from Lara Trump, who's the wife of Eric Trump, and in which she encouraged people to donate to the Red Cross in order to help people who are affected by the California wildfires,
Right.
and this confused the Q community.
Yeah.
Well, of course,
No.
Travis. Of course she did, because now they can track that money.
No. But
That's-
because if you've seen the pictures, that the fires are caused by lasers from space,
yeah, that's right.
and so she's saying donate through Red Cross to say they're corrupt. I'm attaching their name to this. The Red Cross is actually shooting those lasers potentially,
And the
to
funny-
then get more money to smuggle more children through. I think there was another theory that like they were burning the forest of the fast train or some sort of transportation thing.
Oh yes,
Like that it followed the exact lines of this future mode of transportation that the cabal is going to use to transport
They
children.
were like, "Damn!" They were like, "Damn!" Somebody cleared out all these trees and wildlife for us before we built our train.
yeah, it's true.
But
Wait, that is a thing, right? Like,
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
The theory is like they sort of laid up like a map of sort of the wildfires on top of a map of the projected route of the future train, and they said like, oh, they're using lasers to sort of like destroy all this property in order to create the route for the train.
Yeah.
Which
you'd think they'd throw Elon Musk in there. The guy's literally building underground tunnels on private dime. Like, wouldn't he be the one to create this child smuggling ring?
Yeah.
I feel like Elon Musk is such a a weirdo. He has to be sort of on Q's side in the QAnon theory. I don't know if haven't seen them talk about him much at all.
I don't.
No.
I don't think that Elon Musk is in any way though like a pedophile or whatever, because he's called other people pedophiles.
Yes.
And so if you call another person a pedophile, you can't be one. It's the rule of
That's
yeah.
the rule. That's the
That's
rule.
Attention listener, we are under attack. Yes, we've been called out by the president and CEO of QAnon, Neon Revolt. No, that's not a synth pop band from the aughts or your favorite neighborhood gay bar. It's a red-blooded, old-fashioned patriot with the following blog bio.
Honor, duty, faith, family, and tradition. These things will lead to a resurgence of the West. Without them, we perish. Anti-degeneracy, anti-Marxist, anti-revolution.
So the guy's name is Neon Revolt and he's anti-revolution. Already we have an issue. On his grifter-ass website, you can purchase hideous QAnon hats or a woman's t-shirt that says corrupt, broken, traitors, justice, jail, death, QAnon. In case you missed the theme, Neon Revolt named the t-shirt Tribunals! ! So I just want to spend an episode dissecting the insane stream of TLDR this guy published under the following catchy economical title.
Your frustration is their torment. Hashtag mercenary propagandists like at Travis_View, at Rothschild MD, at Will Summer, at Jared Holt, at Jordan Ewell, will fail. Hashtag new Q, hashtag QAnon, hashtag Neon Revolt, hashtag Panic in DC, hashtag Great Awakening.
So this article actually begins with a crude meme featuring a fearsome, scowling captain from an 1864 U.S. Navy propaganda poster, and in a variety of fonts in the classic boomer style. All around him it says, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead, it is Q or die. Where we go one, we go all." So here's the opening passage of this guy's post, which is approximately 5,000 words long. For comparison, that's about a tenth of a short novel. That's pretty consistent across his articles. He likes to write.
I'll be honest, I wasn't sure how to begin this article. I went back and forth for a few days, wrote a few thousand words up, and then tossed it, because somehow I wasn't getting to the heart of what I was trying to communicate. I think it's safe to say almost all hashtag Q Patriots have been experiencing a lot of frustration over the past week or so in the wake of the midterms and 11/11. It's beyond frustration, actually. It's moved into the territory of despair as we watch those who hate us, who wish nothing but death and destruction upon our heads. Like we all do, right,
Honestly,
gentlemen?
this entire podcast is just us wishing death on everybody because we're that dark.
Death and destruction upon our heads, seemingly succeeding across multiple domains simultaneously. Elections are being stolen. California is burning. And where is Q in all of this? I want to do something I don't usually do and start by asking my readers a few serious questions. No, we're not going to go over the reasons for believing in Q again. I did that in the last article, so if you need to read something along those lines, go there, read that.
Stop bothering me about that.
No. What I want to know is this. Do you understand that we are at war? The weight of that question falls upon me pretty keenly. I should get into like reading audiobooks and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm actually kind of better at this than I thought. Okay,
You could be the voice of the far right.
cool. I hope they pay. I hope they have health insurance.
Well, actually, they do get funded better than the left.
Do you understand that we are at war? The weight of that question falls upon me pretty keenly, considering we just went through Armistice Day, a time of remembrance for the end of World War I, called the Great War at the time, because it was so savage and terrible. The world thought there would never be another war to match it, let alone supersede it. To describe the battlefields of World War I as anything other than a human meat grinder is to not fully appreciate the depth of destruction that befell the continent of Europe. And so again, I ask you, do you understand that we are, at this very moment, at war? Do you believe that our enemies are real and want nothing for us than utter ruination?
Let's stop for one moment to just say that the people that are currently being talked about are Travis, us two, Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, my
I don't want to hurt this guy's feelings, but like we're not the most fearsome. He touches on that later, but honestly, it's very hard to read this beginning because he paints us as such a fearsome force, and then later he really takes us apart. So we can talk about that later.
He doesn't realize that I had to use my girlfriend's credit card last night to Venmo McDonald's to myself at 4 a.m. because my Soros check just really hasn't come in the mail. I've been fucking waiting for it. But
Jake, before the episode, was standing around with me and Travis, and I could tell he was actually bothered that the QAnon community had finally taken note of us and was attacking us directly because, in his mind, I think he had the fantasy that maybe he was going to get to stay friends.
yeah, it's like, you idiots. Like, if you listen, if you listen to me, try to challenge some of Julian's historical understanding and knowledge, you'll see I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm on your side, but I'm down for some of this shit. I'm down for Spygate. I'm down for the corruption and degradation of the Democratic Party. I'm with you on that. I'm not so with you on some of the other stuff that is not beneficial for me or my not chosen religion.
Honestly, I think you had them at you idiots. I think.
You idiots.
You idiot. But yeah, so the fearsome, that's who they're talking about, that we're real enemies who want nothing but utter ruination for some guy called Neon Cage or whatever.
Yes, we're so well funded that we're actually losing money on this podcast. Okay.
We are incredibly well funded by Soros. Please donate to our Patreon. We love to ritualistically humiliate ourselves through Patreon, even though we have lots of money.
Please, please. Okay. Do you believe that our enemies are real and want nothing for us than utter ruination? That they'll stop at nothing to see our lives extinguished and our children enslaved. I will actually. There's a lot that I would stop at. I mean, if
I don't know,
a new Pokemon game comes out, I'll stop
honestly
to play
if,
that.
If
honestly.
I heard like a child cry, I could not continue to try to enslave them. Like I would immediately stop my enslaving and be like, "Oh my god, are you okay? Like, do you need can I help you in some way to find your mother or father?" He's right though that I want the entire Neon Revolt crushed beneath the authoritarian boot of my regime, the new caliphate of QAnon Anonymous.
Do you believe that brave men and women have already sacrificed their lives in fighting what are perhaps the greatest enemies of this nation? I am fucking honored, TBPH. Like
No. And indeed the world.
And indeed the world has ever faced.
We are, so let me resume, the greatest enemies the world has ever faced. There is no villain larger than some podcasters and some other dudes who take some time from their main job to maybe write a couple articles making fun of these people.
We aren't the the greatest enemies, but we're sort of on their side.
Yes.
It's why he
Right.
calls us their mercenary propagandists.
Right.
And the idea is that it's like we're sort of in their employ.
Yeah.
At least.
I honestly, until Soros started paying me, I was just like a pro gun guy on YouTube.
Right.
And I did a lot of like homemade KKK videos and stuff like that. But then Soros was like, hey, have you heard of Jewish money? It's worth twice as much as Goy money. And at that point, I enslaved myself to him in a blood ritual. And Jake was the little girl that I brought with me, and he was transformed as part of the price, if you want to, into the man we see here today.
I have no adrenochrome left in my body. So now when danger strikes, I just kind of slowly poo into my pants, but I don't really feel anything
But
bad.
the cabal doesn't even see you. You are invisible to them.
You know our enemy's capabilities.
They know how to record and put out a podcast.
Yeah, they know how to record and put out a podcast, and one of them is way overdue for an oil change, mostly because he can't afford it. And what's more, thanks to Q, their intention for us.
Enslave and destroy.
You know what they would have done had they retained power?
Oh, yes, right. Hillary.
Yeah.
No, wait. Yes, Obama to Hillary.
And
And we're
now-
involved in that.
And now, I ask you another question. Would you rather settle and live under their rule? Or do you believe that we deserve a fighting chance? Something clicked in me these past few days. At first, I'll be honest, I was feeling a bit like everyone else, a bit down, a bit underwhelmed, a bit disappointed. And that doesn't sound like you're up against that sounds like you didn't get the part in the school play that you wanted.
wanted the Super Nintendo, but my dad got me the Genesis.
I wanted to play Tevye, but instead I was cast as Model the Tailor, a significantly less important character in Fiddler on the Roof.
These Nikes are not part of the latest drop. They're 2 years old.
And then I saw the behavior of our enemies. I saw article after article shot across the web by what I'm now dubbing #mercenary propagandists, berating #QAnon and his followers. Those pathetic rubes in flyover country gullible enough to buy into all these conspiratorial horse feathers.
I'm sorry, but does that not show his age?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way someone under 40 writes conspiratorial horse feathers. Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, or
is he in the saloon in
Yeah.
the Old West?
Or flyover country gullible.
You know what he is? He's like the store. He's like the guy who holds the store at the local town. And he's just like, well, conspiratorial goose feathers, and then 2 hours later they've tarred and feathered him because he sucks at getting drunk.
And then he writes, you know the type. I could almost hear them saying between the lines, barely able to keep their smug insinuation and sense of, parentheses, nearly unbridled self-satisfaction contained.
There's a lot of words there. That's a lot of stuff.
Well, look, what's wrong with self-satisfaction? I mean, most of these guys, like Neon Revolt, I mean, they run on self-satisfaction. Like, he's got to be satisfied with some of this shit. He puts too much effort into constructing these sentences that...
If you look at the beginning of this, it sounds like, oh, we're in a battle, we're in a war. But by the end, you'll see he's claiming victory already. So it's like this... There's actually an amazing rhythm to almost all kind of QAnon missives, because it walks you through all the different emotions. There's a part where you're desperate and the enemy is out to get you. Then there's a part where you're powerful, you've already won. And then there's a part where these people are soy boys, they're pathetic, we've crushed that. There's so many different, it's like you get worked through all these phases.
Yeah, I think what he's really hitting on in the sort of this last paragraph is sort of this fear of humiliation, and this the idea that the evil elites who want to destroy you, they're laughing at you. They think you're so stupid. You dumb flyover rube. They get together with their little podcast and they talk about what dipshits you people are for believing your nonsense.
Which I want to be clear, like none of us think these people are dipshits.
No.
We think that this belief system is a problematic belief system that's fucking people's minds, but these people have nothing inherently wrong with them.
Yeah, I mean,
Neon Revolt does, but that's because he's, you know.
It's like lots of like, I hear from all the time from like people who have like family members who buy into the Q nonsense, and like they like, it's like they really care about them, and they're heartbroken that they're buying into this. Yep. So it's not that like every Q skeptic just thinks that they're just hate that you buy into this horseshit.
It's like that when he was like they're laughing at you. It's like that scene in the movies where they cut together big groups of people and they're cutting from person to person. It's like, ah, ha, 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 and they're doing the echo effect on the laughter so that they show the characters traumatized.
Yeah.
Like that's what he's trying to like work you up into in his words here.
When really like he should be reaching out to us, like, me specifically, and being like, wow, the fact they're even talking about it and they're, maybe with a little bit of love and some extra tender care and, gentleness, we can actually bring these guys over to our side and make them see and turn their podcast right around.
I think one of the things that pisses him off is like the small attempts at humor in all of Neon Revolt's content is always like incredibly angry, cynical humor.
Yeah.
Like he's not a very funny guy, and so I think that any laughter for him is very disturbing.
Right. It's like that weird kid in junior high who would like make kind of uncomfortable, like the only jokes he made like made you a little uncomfortable and like kind of worried about what he might do.
Yeah, you laugh because you're like, I don't want to be first on his list.
The thing is about Neon is that I get dunked on by Q believers like every single day, and they question my motives and they call me an idiot in my DMs.
I can't believe Travis is crying, Jake.
Yeah. It's like it hurts me to my core. It's just devastating. But mostly it's the same old shit over and over again. But this guy's creative, It's like he comes up with cool nicknames. Yeah. He said that he looked at my AVI and it says like it smells of like seasonal depression. No one else has given me quite.
Amazing.
I know. He said, yeah,
so specific.
Exactly. It's like
you suffer from anxiety, sir.
I know, right? He kind of cracks me up because like no Q believer insults me quite with his level of creativity. So I kind of like Neon.
Well, and I'm sure he hates the fact that he hates you so much more than you hate him. That's got to bother him on some level. It always does with these guys when it's like they really want you so badly to kind of like lash out and be like yeah man, well like fuck you, like yeah I was paid by Soros, so what, fuck you, and he's like I gotcha.
You showed your Jewish teeth.
Yeah, you showed your hand.
I mean, in his writings, like he's been sort of like he's had a few posts about me for like the past month or so. He's posted about me on Gab.
He's going back and forth with his nicknames.
Yeah, and it's obvious isn't that he thinks that like my tweets are stupid, but he does. But he just wants me to be like sort of demonized and humiliated. He wants me to be like feel like awful about myself. It's like it's this weird sort of like it's like the Ben Shapiro YouTube videos where they say like Ben Shapiro destroys so and so. It isn't like Ben Shapiro creates a cogent argument that refutes his opponent. It's never that cold. It's always about destruction, humiliation, and ruination.
Yeah,
and that's
so true.
You say you're a girl, but you were born with a penis. Boom.
The interesting thing to me is like when he, you read this article and you get a sense of this large scale, ultimate enemy that he's going after, but like. What you got like 7,000 Twitter like like you're reaching why isn't he going after the big guys? Why isn't he going after the Seth Abramsons and the guys with the 500,000 followers?
Note, we are not actually proposing that Neon Revolt harass Seth Abramson.
I am actually.
Note, my lawyer has called on me to distance myself from Jake's.
I'm getting weird texts and calls from Julian's lawyer, but I'm still gonna go ahead and say, you should definitely harass that guy because he's like he's way more annoying than Travis is.
Yeah.
It's like I have like a few thousand Twitter followers, and I drove my daughter to ballet lessons yesterday. And
That's interesting, Travis. Where?
Yeah, it's like, dude, you're everything that he should should respect.
Yeah, it's like I'm not like
You're a
it's
good
like,
family man.
Yeah, exactly. I'm an incredible normie in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And-
Jake, meanwhile, takes half an hour to shit, masturbates twice a day, and he eats bacon in the morning.
Dude, did you fucking plant like a camera on my fucking like shirt pocket? What's going on? Come on, man.
Someone needs a neon revolt, if you know what I mean.
Come on, man. Jesus.
So soon, our man Neon Revolt has moved on in his article to the apparently bumpy move from Reddit to vote, which he has to kind of address before he can move on
boy.
because clearly there's something happening here. So here is what it says in the article. Now, everyone here knows the transition to vote was anything but smooth, but transition we did. If you've been around for any length of time, you know how much heat I took for that. And the constant stream of downvotes that eventually came my way. I mean, this guy, it's like Jesus on the cross. Effectively censoring and crippling my account there.
Oh, my account sees.
And then one day, before this announcement, I logged in and all my negative account points were erased. Just gone. Deleted from my account. I swear to God, these guys, for them, the deep state is just a mod in their chat room. I had come to the conclusion that in order to try and stop my efforts there, my efforts to direct people to the right mod team, there it is. The right subverse, hashtag the cabal, leveraged an entire botnet against me and against the larger community to disrupt and sow discord at every possible turn. I'll give them this. It worked for a bit. But in the end, we beat them at their own game. We broke their botnet. And I will say this. I encourage the folks who enjoyed and utilized r/Great Awakening to hop on over to v/QRV because the quality of the content is really improving.
Oh my God.
Especially as this botnet has now been effectively wiped out. We were holding him back. We forced him to apply, teenage girl filters on old Greek statues that reek of fascist thought and then name himself after women's tights. And more participation there is only going to make it better and better and better. Oh, please come to my chat room. I'm so alone. But the larger point I'm trying to make here is that I spent enough time living in hashtag Obama land.
Oh man, Obama land.
I hate living there. I don't know about you, but I'm done playing by their rules and accepting their terms. Like they're somehow welcome at the table. They don't get to censor us anymore. They don't get to tell us how to think or how to speak or what to read or write. They don't get to shame us into conformity just because they're beholden to their favorite political idols and blinded by that near religious devotion to moronic, quote, progressive ideals. No. What grew in me today, and I think some of you may have observed it on Gab when I just kept posting the K word over and over. But what grew in me today was a righteous anger to see how these people scheme and manipulate, to see how they work every day to actively shame good, hard-working, honest people like bloggers. Well, let's just say I'm adopting something of a take-no-prisoners approach with my writing from here on out. This is the guy whose first post was saying the Obama children aren't his real children. He's stepping it up, boys. And again, because these people are so dishonest, they'll take anything out of context to distort it into a quote, call for violence or, quote, extremist rhetoric. I disavow all violence and violent acts. I disavow.
Even though you are in the most important war
Yes.
of your life
No.
that you compared to
You can't
World
fight
War
in it.
I not too long ago, just maybe a couple sentences ago. But
Violence is not the answer. PayPal.com/neonrevolt is.
yeah,
That's how you fight this war. One PayPal payment at a time. Okay, so it continues. Oh, but I will gladly take every single last one of these dishonest hashtag mercenary propagandists to task for the harm they are inflicting on this nation. And I will personally make sure the nation never forgets until 1, they all post deep, heartfelt apologies recanting their former deceit, and 2, delete their Twitter/Gab/Mastodon/Instagram accounts. So yeah, just a quick one, buddy. Not everyone's a white supremacist, so we don't all have Gab and Mastodon accounts. But yeah, we'll delete the other ones. No problem.
Yeah, I don't really like use Twitter all that much, and my Instagram's like kind of, you know, pretty empty. So
I thought the Soros setup team had you on that, buddy. They have
I
a good
just
IT
got
guy.
a Gab account because like I wanted to respond to Neon.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've been chatting with it. It's really a terrible app. Just technically, the app, I download the app, it keeps crashing on me.
Yeah.
But
a lot of weird ads and stuff pop up for like, you know, like swastika vests and
It's running on Windows 95. It just keeps telling you like missing white supremacy.dll.
yeah, it was like, yeah, it's like, they're not going to show up here. It's like, hey, what's up? And he was like, yeah,
Okay, I guess I mean, he does post constantly about his Gab and how he's on Gab come see me on Gab.
I don't give it. I mean, it's like I visit, like, you know, compared to like Q Research.
Oh, it's
yeah,
half
Gab
as
is like
bad, yeah.
nothing. It's like, so it's not like too
Well,
extremist for me.
you don't know the right rooms. Okay, so he continues. These are my terms, and I'm letting them know this up front because they are going to have to conform to them. Why? Because I won't be the only one who's angry. I'm just the herald of that #righteous anger they will all experience when the entire world learns the truth. They will never live this down until they recant, apologize, and delete. And I'm so glad to see other #anons starting to feel the same way, starting to really feel that same righteous anger bubbling up inside of them. So this guy's like just like early Torquemada. Like he's like a knockoff recant. You see, like there's that fucking weird Orthodox Christian language just shoved in there. He's medieval.
yeah, it's gonna suck when like when QAnon like comes true and they're doing all the like military tribunals and stuff, and they drag us out of our like shitty apartments and fucking hang us in the middle of the street.
I know.
Yeah. It's again the sort of dreams of humiliation. One of the things that Neon had talked about before is that it's like he thought like, I'm sort of once sort of like the storm happens, I'm going to be laughed out of every single newsroom. And like I pointed out, I've never like set foot in a newsroom before, but
but they're all gonna stop inviting you there,
exactly.
giving
It's
you
like,
tons of money.
I'll be totally discredited and I'll be just ruined, humiliated. I'll feel terrible. I'll just panic. I'll hate myself. He imagines that this terrible thing is going to happen, and then I will be in emotional turmoil. This is what they are ultimately fantasize about.
Personally, when I close my eyes at night, I see Travis View stripped naked and like Cersei walk down the main street.
Exactly.
And just shame.
People throw feces at me. Wasn't that Travis View, the man who doubted Q?
That used to be the most beautiful woman in the realm.
Yeah, the leader of the resistance. Look at him now.
Look, son, there goes the Tapwater Goblin. That used to be a beautiful young woman with Christian values.
Throw the tap water at him. Throw the tap water at him, Timmy. Throw it at him. It'll burn his eyes.
Get the fluoride in his mouth and eyes.
I have to sneak into town at night just to steal food.
Oh my god. So I mean, I'm gonna go in quickly and show how Neon Revolt is a megaphone for anti-Semitic and racist conspiracy theories. But don't take it from me. Let's read a July 22nd article in which he reposts intense white supremacy discussions from the Chans, but then does mental gymnastics to keep any potential normies in the audience calm.
I believe as the resident Jew, I will read this.
So the first part here is a quote that he's basically screen capped and inserted directly into his article.
And the quote reads, "Everyone is freaking out, lol. The next to go down are the black rappers. They want to ruin black rappers too, and then he has a list of the reasons they want to ruin black rappers. And number one is have kike and white artists take over. Okay. Number two, black rappers are hard to control but easy to destroy because of their destructive lives. Okay. Number three, keep rap Jew owned.
Which is like the best bumper sticker ever.
Keep rap Jew owned.
Keep rap Jew owned is your new fucking bumper sticker. We're making those. We're selling them to our listeners.
I mean, you know, it tends to be that Jews are the best white rappers. So, I mean, I guess some of the logic here tracks. Okay, so keep rap Jew owned since a lot of blacks are starting their own record companies. Number four, switch the media's focus from kike Hollywood to black Hollywood. Oh my God.
So bad.
Number 5. Black rappers are starting to distance themselves from progressive ideals, so it's hard to keep them in check. Most black rappers are woke on the JQ, but don't know how to articulate well enough to not be ruined. What's JQ? Let me guess. Is that Jewish question?
Correct.
He writes, it's been a long pet theory of Pohl that rap music was a psyop pushed by Jewish-owned controlled record labels in Hollywood. Renegade seems to be confirming the theory here, as well as outlining the first few steps in their plan. As for the term JQ, for those unfamiliar, it refers to the, quote, Jewish question, which might be stated as, quote, how does 1.7% of the population control so much of the media and or academia, end quote. Now, I want to be clear. This is contentious territory and easily twisted around by critics as anti-Semitic racism.
Julian.
In order to shut down any kind of resulting conversation.
Why
just
can't
a
we talk about the Jewish
conversation.
question?
It's just a conversation. And then he goes, that's not free speech. I also want to remind people that there's a difference between reporting on a subject and endorsing what you're reporting on, even though I've explained to you.
Even though I was like, yeah, this guy
I've explained
Renegade.
to you what the Jewish question is.
And he said Renegade has outlined the next steps. So he's clearly saying, like, hey, there's a Jewish question. Renegade here who literally just refers to Jewish people as kikes.
But he's saying, I want to remind people that there is a difference between reporting on a subject and endorsing what you are reporting on.
If you call him anti-Semitic, it's not free speech.
Yes.
And if you quote a white supremacist you had a discussion with about white supremacy and then say he's outlining the next steps, you're not endorsing it.
Yeah, you're not endorsing.
You're covering it like a journalist.
You're not endorsing it. You're just kind of interested in this, very sort of comparable thought to, other just sort of conversations about society and that kind of stuff.
Guys, listen, there's a question, okay? It happens to be a Jewish question, okay? In history, we've never asked that question. No one has ever tried to come up with a specific answer, and that answer was not an awful thing that we all had to go through and we're still regretting. So anyways, are we going to have this open conversation or not, or do you hate free speech?
He goes on to say, and while this chart is a bit out of date, it's still very representative of the answer those are asking the Jewish question would have people see. Okay, this is very, very explicitly crafted. It says, and while this chart is a bit out of date, it's still very representative of the answer those asking the Jewish question would have people see.
So what is the answer, Jake?
According to Renegade, you could add a few more blue boxes to the chart.
Because I printed this up in black and white, you can't see it. But essentially, there's a pretty consistent color throughout the entire thing. And that's the color that's in the legend. It just says Jewish.
And then he writes...
And it's just like a big grid that represents every single media entity. And it's just basically showing you that it's all Jewish. And it says, who controls your mind, 2013.
Yeah, but the graph's from 2013.
I know. The who control your mind... mechanism for empirical data collection was actually at its best in 2013, and since then it's been getting less good. So this is golden era.
And the thing is there's plenty of shit out there about like the negatives of having like essentially six companies control our entire media. I mean, there's plenty of stuff out there. He could have chosen to just talk about it in a general sense that hey, it's weird that like these six, CEOs of these companies control every single piece of media that you see. Nothing to do with their religion whatsoever.
No, it really doesn't have much to do except for the fact that in capitalism, consolidation and the kind of mergers of companies and this kind of like corporatization of even the smallest enterprises in which they get sucked into umbrella companies, that is creating, a wealthy few and a poor rest of the world. And the reason why you might see, more Jewish people in places where, money is made in that way is because, as we explored in a previous episode, there were literally anti-Jewish laws in place, anti-Semitic laws in place that stopped them from owning property. So they had to move to liquidity-heavy occupations. So it's like you're looking at that correlation later and going, something's wrong here. Which I'm just going to say, like, this is such a stupid thing, but they have so much logic and data. They love to go be like, well, you don't want to look at the crime statistics for black people that the FBI has put out, or you don't want to look at the percentage of Jewish people in the media or stuff like that. But then they really never want to look at the fact that in any given pool or like occupation, you're going to have a majority of some race or ethnic religion. That doesn't mean that we all have to like ask a question about it and then find some answer, which is genocide, and then engage in that genocide. I'm going to say you can just let that fucking shit lie.
Yeah.
It's like that's fine.
And his next sentence is so fucking dumb. He writes, and he goes, and while as a Christian I disagree with the Jewish religion, which is basically the same thing. Like, we both draw from the same exact Bible, essentially. You know, we both, a lot of the same characters overlap. Really, the biggest difference, in the
founding
mythology
of Christianity is a Jewish person.
Yeah. The biggest difference is that we don't believe that, that Jesus was the Son of God. We believe that he was this amazing, philanthropist, essentially.
Yeah, and like shorthand for showing how anti-Semitic this is, he has somehow managed to bold the word Jew in Jewish.
Yes, and
So
he's done that the entire article.
Jewish religion, and he bolded just the word Jew. I mean, I don't think it could be much more clear.
He writes, I harbor no hate for someone by virtue of their birth. Well, that's good. No, in my mind, this kind of chart is more indicative of an Israeli psyop on the United States, which has been allowed to exist and operate freely for many, many years.
Okay, well, we're not going to walk through the actual history. I mean, we might at some point on some episode walk through Israel's relationship to the United States, the formation of that state, and how right wing and hard right are actually super down with Israel. So this doesn't really make that much sense.
Anyways,
I used the Wayback Machine to pull up Neon Revolt's very first blog post in 2017, where he kicks off with a Pizzagate post and within a few days has done a tour of all the dumbest conspiracy theories possible. He accuses several women of being witches.
Okay.
Posts pictures of, quote, Barry Hussein in ethnic garb and claims that the Obama children aren't his actual biological children.
Okay.
And the article in question ended with a Photoshop picture of Obama with his hands down the front of his own daughter's pants with the word, "It doesn't count as molestation when Democrats do it." This guy's beliefs line up with those of a medieval drunk, and I think his high word count is proof that writing has no inherent value. Neon Revolt, you're a mediocre crypto-fascist and a vicious little moron to boot.
I second that.
Yeah. So in the middle of this very long article, he has some very specific critiques for me specifically.
Yeah, but you kind of started this all for him, right? This article is actually, you can tell you triggered him, and then this article was born from that because he found all the names of the other people on our Twitter.
Yes, yeah. I made a tweet sort of promoting the podcast and a few of the people who are part of it, like Will Sommer and Jared Holt, and
I'm blowing a kiss to you right now.
and he saw this and he decided this and also Mike Rothschild, who's another big anti-QAnon guy.
Yeah,
it's like this sort of he decided this is sort of the crew that he's going to take on.
Yeah.
And
never mind that we live in like different cities everywhere and barely talk to each other. And okay, go on.
So he has some sort of general critiques for me specifically, and he starts off with anyway, Tapwater Travis. Oh, by the way, he gave me a new nickname.
Yes.
It's like, I'm now Tapwater. I used to be Rat Tail Travis. I switched to Tapwater Travis. So.
But I saw he went
switch back.
No, but he went out of his way to make a Photoshop of a rat tail on your what is a fucking stock image, which I guess he at the time thought he didn't know it was a stock image.
Yeah.
But then later he found a real picture of you and posted it.
Yes, right. He saw he was like, so when he saw like my stock photo, that was the rat tail. When he saw my real photo, which I include my Washington Post article, it's like that's me. That's the Tapwater Travis version.
Oh yeah, baby.
So so he says so he sort of surveys my critiques, and he says, anyway, Tapwater Travis would have a leg to stand on if his premises weren't so immediately idiotic. In it, he assumes a couple of things about Q's efforts that are just flat out wrong. What are these premises? Number one, that there's no possible way Q could be true. Therefore, it's just an elaborate LARP. And I think that this is actually a faulty logic. I would agree with him. I don't think I've ever argued that Q is a priori impossible in the same sense that like a married bachelor is. It's just happens to be not true.
This lacks logic because, I mean, just because you think it's an elaborate LARP doesn't mean you don't think there's any possible way it could be true.
Yeah.
There's a little part of me whenever I look at conspiracy theories, I go, "Ooh, what if it's true? Let's look into this deeply."
That's why you look into
exciting.
them.
It's like if
There's a big part in Jake.
exactly, really.
It's the only part in me, really.
Really. See, here's the thing. Most people do think it's just stupid and just dismiss it and don't look into it any further. I treat it with more respect and more
Yes.
curiosity and
Totally.
more open-mindedness than people who ignore it.
You are
absolutely.
You are in a BDSM relationship with the QAnon community.
I am. All right. I am kinky for QAnon.
Kinky for Q hashtag.
Yeah.
I just think that it's really, really unlikely, so it's unlikely that Donald Trump, a venal man with limited attention span and no military experience, would spearhead or be integral to an unimaginably massive military operation to take down a global cabal of pedophile Satan worshippers that is going to dramatically change the landscape of the United States and is revealing this operation through cryptic messages on 8chan. That is almost certainly not true.
Listen, are you saying the man who was unable to close an umbrella might not be able to run something this complex?
I think I am saying that, yes.
Okay.
So when you actually examine the evidence, it gets worse. Like in the very first Q drop, Q was saying that Hillary was about to be arrested, right? Clearly Hillary isn't arrested. And then they had some sort of ad hoc sort of explanations about why she wasn't. They would be like, oh, she was arrested, but she was wearing an ankle monitor. And that's why she was wearing an orthopedic boot. But
what's the point if their whole fucking thing is humiliation? What's the point of a hidden arrest? There's no humiliation there, right? She gets to keep running for president, keep doing whatever she wants.
Doing book tours and saying that
What
all
does-
black people look the same.
What kind of victory do you have over her, even if she does have the ankle monitor? Sounds like a pretty good prison to me.
Yeah. And what kind and how much influence that even after she's been charged with the crime of trafficking human children to eating them, that they're like, you know what, cool, we're gonna put an ankle monitor on you and you can just kick it in Chapataquaco or whatever the fuck that city's called or whatever.
I saw an Onion article recently. Just the headline was so amazing. It was like, Hillary Clinton is raising $200 million or she'll run again. It's so good. And I know that it was bought by a guy who's a supposedly pro-Hillary guy. So I did worry that the Onion wasn't going to be as biting to neoliberals, but it's still doing it, man.
Yeah, they sure are.
he moves on. He goes on to say, they say this despite the well-known fact that Trump has operated on the chans for a very long time. I don't think that's actually very well known.
That's not
Trump is operating on the
true.
chans?
I have no idea where this came from. I think Trump, he's talked about how he doesn't use email.
Yeah.
He's talked about how he apparently has, there's an iPad in the White House and he refers to it as the flat one. And he talks about how he tried to lock Barron Trump, 10-year-old Barron Trump, out of the computer, but he got around it. He talks about how his 10-year-old kid outsmarted him on the computer.
Yeah, he's like any 70-year-old dad.
I don't think he's that super technically savvy that he's using on a very difficult to use image board like 8chan. So I don't think that's well known or true.
At the very best, some military advisor will, run into the bathroom while he's, taking a poo or whatever and saying well, he was all right, we've pushed the latest Q message and it's going really well. We've got, 1.5 million impressions in the last 11 minutes.
Yeah.
And Donald's like, okay. At the very best.
He goes on to say, is it that far of a stretch to think that military intelligence would harness the power of this community? Yeah, that's a pretty far stretch, I think.
Yeah.
But this is more to write about these journalists' inherent bias than anything else. Because no one has done anything like this before, they assume that there's no way it would be done by Trump. Because, he's so the kind to be behold to these norms of behavior. He totally fits the mold out of which every president before him has been cast.
But I don't understand. I mean, of course, I know the answer to my question. These people haven't studied history, but there are so many incredible insurgent leaders that did have to change, a crazy, corrupt government and try to. But they're just not Trump. There's a lot of cases of this. Unfortunately, a lot of them are, people trying to resist a, either colonial or imperial regime or some sort of bizarre post-colonial occupation thing. That's where heroes are made. Heroes are not made when you're up there, you get to be the president and it's fine, and your Congress and your Senate for 2 years were behind you. I don't get the victim narrative. How you can't be a fucking hero because there's very little resistance. Like your policies are carried out almost
Immediately.
if they make any sense, like if your sentences make sense, people more or less carry out your policies. You know, then they hide the rest of the stuff from you because, you know, you're not making that much sense all the time. But
So the other way he says that I get Q wrong. He says that Q is trying to predict the future, you know, like some kind of Zoltar cabinet at the county fair. So he says Q never claimed to be able to make exact predictions, especially on citizens' timetables. Oh, sure, there's a lot of expectation and hope in the community that such and such would happen by X date, but that kind of prediction rarely comes from Q himself. And this is partially accurate, but it's mostly bullshit because multiple Q drops have referenced the specific date 11/11/18, right?
Yeah.
That was the day that the parade that wouldn't be forgotten was supposed to be. That was the day that negotiations with Iran was supposed to be resolved. That was the date that America would be united again. And that date wasn't created by the QAnon community. That came from Q,
of course.
And so that's why a lot of people were being let down. In fact, Neon Revolt leads in this article for someone who is very frustrated by the lack of fulfilled predictions.
Right.
And so,
but do you know that in Q's latest drop, if you turn the number upside down, it says boobies?
that's incredible.
Exactly.
And also in this exact same post later down, Neon says that Q called the results of the midterm election over a month in advance. So I know. And so on the one hand, Neon is saying, it's like, oh, of course, Q doesn't like make predict. He's not like some sort of psychic. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, then he says,
and then he says like Q can predict the party composition of the Senate, something that no one should be able to actually predict if we have a real democracy and people are voting freely.
Yeah.
It's weird. This is like this weird two-step that QAnon people actually do a lot, where they say like, "Oh, this is ridiculous," and they can't predict the future, and then they count as sort of like predictions as proof of Q.
Yeah.
it's almost like he's forgetting the 2 sentences ago as he writes in like a manic fury.
Yeah.
And this is what Neon Revolt says Q really is. Q is a military operation responding to real threats in real time worldwide. Any predictions made need to be understood within that context of action response. So, for instance, one thing these antiquated folks like to harp on is Q's failed Kavanaugh vote confirmation prediction, 53-47, when reality came out to 51-49. Now, first of all, the actual vote was 50-48.
So he doesn't even get the correction right.
Right.
So, I mean, I love these guys because, you know, their whole thing is like, do the research. But then they just rush to the first thing they can get wrong.
He says, forget the fact that, yes, Kavanaugh was in fact approved by the Senate at the time when it was unclear whether or not he would be. It was because Q was off by 2 votes that shows he's just a LARP with no credibility whatsoever.
I want to just stop for 1 second and say that, hey, everybody knew Kavanaugh would be fucking pushed through by the Republican turds and that the Democrats wouldn't get their shit together. I'm sorry, but that is actually common knowledge for almost anyone who's observed the political machinations of both parties for years.
I thought it was, I thought everyone kind of assumed that the confirmation hearings were kabuki theater, and it was like his confirmation was like they had the majority in the, the
general belief is that they were going to push him through anyways.
Yeah, so I'm not sure where this idea that where it was unclear is. What it does show is that it's sort of like Q's predictions have as much credibility as like, some dude writing an opinion column for a local newspaper, right? Anyone can say like, well, based upon my analysis, I think it's going to be 53-47. Oh, I was off by 2 votes or 3.
Yeah.
And but that's not who Q claims to be. Q claims to be this military insider. And if you're going to
Q is actually the octopus that predicts the World Cup every year.
So his third way, he says that I misunderstand Q. He says that I incorrectly think that Q is just talking to regular Americans. He says, if Q is real, doesn't it make sense that every single evil force in the world that Q is struggling against would be following his every word? Context matters. Understanding context matters. The context of QAnon's posts aren't always immediately evident to us, the average American citizen. And that's consistent with what we would expect of someone at a high level of government intelligence, someone who is aware of the lives at stake and are aware of evil people listening in, was trying to communicate publicly with the average citizen. I think what he's trying to say is like, well, if Q posts don't make sense to us, the average citizen, or if it's false or it makes false predictions, it's because Q wasn't really talking to us. It was maybe sending a message to the cabal,
the opposition,
to the
throw them
opposition,
off.
or throw them off, or like it was intentional disinformation to make the cabal make mistakes. One thing that always baffles me is like they hate the mainstream media because they think that it's pumping out lies to deceive people, right?
Right.
And then they sort of acknowledge that sometimes Q posts are false and deceitful, but they're deceitful in a good way. So they're accepting of Q's deceit and misinformation, but for some reason they hate the MSM. So it's not even about
some reason. Did you see the way that Acosta literally took off that young woman's arm? She fucking bled out on the floor of the White House fucking press room, and nobody helped her. In fact,
horrifying.
Maxine Waters kicked her in the eye with her heel. You saw that.
I saw it.
poor
I saw the
blind
video.
armless woman.
We all saw that video.
I know, and the fucking dirty Dems tried to slow down the footage so it didn't look like the kicks landed as hard.
But I mean, she lost her arm.
Yeah.
That's fact.
So he's basically saying that Q is unfalsifiable. That like if Q is true, then the predictions make sense, and if it's false, it's because there's some super secret reason that is false. But it's still totally coming.
Travis, we don't all understand the sun, but it does rise every morning.
Right. So in this next section of the article, New Revolt actually owns me pretty good. It's like this is maybe the best owned by a QAnon believer I've ever had. And what Neon Revolt did is that he listened to my very first podcast appearance on the Shitpost podcast with Jared Holt.
Correct.
And
friend of the show.
Right. And so this was my very first podcast appearance, and also like the very first time I ever talked about QAnon like out loud to someone who gave a shit.
Yeah.
Like I've just been sort of tweeting behind the computer up to this point.
But did you act like a bitch?
I did not act like a bitch.
Did you dishonor yourself?
I did not dishonor myself, but I had sort of difficulty sort of articulating myself to Jared Holt's very excellent questions.
But I thought you were in newsrooms all the fucking time, cashing checks.
So basically, he transcribes a long section of my PS.
I read this, and he puts in all your onomatopoeia.
Yes,
he puts in all your and he takes beautiful creative liberties.
So he transcribes very precise, exactly what I said, not cleaning up at all. Exactly. He sort of every sort of half-spoken sentence and every and and well.
Right.
He includes all of that.
I love it.
Wow, you must be fucking honored that this guy went and took the time to transcribe every single thing.
I know. This is why
you wasted so much of his time.
This is why I really like Neon. He is literally my #1 fan. I guarantee no one else is listening to the deep Travis cuts and transcribing my.
Yeah, definitely.
No, he got
not.
pissed. He is pissed.
Yeah.
He's so mad. He's not mad online at all. He's not mad at all online right now. We don't have a bright neon madman online.
So what he did is that his critique was like, oh, so I'm making fun of all of Q's failed predictions. What about your failed predictions?
Yeah, that's right.
And
well, you do say that you are the herald of a new dawn.
I do say that I can
information.
predict the future.
You do say you are
a fair criticism.
You are also a military operation.
I have secret special knowledge from the military intelligence. So basically, I speculate that if QAnon is just like Pizzagate, then we'll probably see some sort of crazy claims coming out of the QAnon community a few days before the election, because in Pizzagate, like 4 days before the 2016 election, that's when sort of the crazy spirit cooking, Satan worshiping sort of weird claims started bouncing around social media. So I said like, wow, so that's what happened with Pizzagate. Maybe the same thing is going to happen with, and so here's my exact quote that he transcribes. And if we're going to sort of assume that what happened with Pizzagate is also going to happen with QAnon, then what we're going to see is that the craziest claims that are going to happen about a week before the coming election, because that's what happened with Pizzagate. And then Neon Revolt correctly points out that really nothing quite like spirit cooking really got sort of spread around before this recent election.
Wasn't there? There was all kinds of insanity.
Well,
I read all kinds of crazy stuff about the migrant caravan.
There was
they claimed that Blasey Ford was an actress in disguise.
Well, that was during the that was during the Kavanaugh hearings.
Okay, so just before the midterm.
Yeah, there was really not. Yeah, there
It sounds like you
4
had a
days.
fucking failed prediction, Travis.
It did. I was like, so yes, I speculated that possibly. First of all, I said
Disgusting.
that if we're going to sort of assume that what happened with Pizzagate is going to happen with QAnon, first of all, I couched it very carefully.
Yes.
And so he says, gonna gloss over your big miss here now, Travis, or maybe somehow when you do it, it doesn't count. I don't claim to have any sort of special inside information. And I'm just speculating.
Travis, you sound a little triggered.
I am extremely triggered.
I just want to say that with leaders like you, who needs people that aren't leaders? You know, because you have brought the people to the water. You lead an online caravan of sorts, like a Twitter caravan. Your followers are like your 6,000 person, 7,000 person caravan, and you're leading them to the border by, George Soros money, and you have a jetpack.
I'm just a guy speculating. So whenever I talk about the future, let's go ahead and assume that I am not making a prediction. I'm like the millions of other people on the internet who says, well, I think this is going to happen. And that's not what Q claims. You know? And then people in the QAnon community think that Q is able to predict the future.
Yeah.
It's based upon the prediction that there's going to be executions and mass indictments.
But that is what a tap water goblin would say.
And here's the difference as I see it, is that when you get called out on your big miss, you don't go, well, of course, what I meant to say was that the elections next year, that I was talking about the thing. You don't try to go in and...
Travis's next article is just like, we know who our enemies are. They've come for us in the night.
If you're feeling despondent because I missed that, you think that my words are gold and you should trust every word I come out, please DM me because you need to stop doing that.
You need help. Yeah. Actually, we have this other awesome conspiracy that we can get you hooked on. It'll be really good if you believe that.
Yeah, we've got a couple great ones.
And anyway, so he then kind of caps off. I mean, he goes off on such a huge long thing. He drags Jordan into it. He drags a bunch of ex-guests of the podcast in on it, and then he explains that they're all like, he starts kind of bringing in some homophobia stuff. So he starts to call us Soros rent boys, which encouraged another user to call us Soros butt boy, and he then posted on Gab like, "Hey guys, I just called him a Soros butt boy. I'm probably gonna get blocked."
Man, how sad is it that like he probably spent at least 10 minutes like fantasizing about how awesome it would be when he got blocked.
Dude, when I nail this guy by showing him that
I'm gonna get blocked.
that I'm homophobic and anti-Semitic, he's gonna block me, and I will have won.
I'm gonna get blocked.
I'm gonna get so blocked. Oh my God, you guys. That's the thing with these people. There's no victory beyond getting blocked. That's it, right? Someone's triggered. Great. You win.
Yo, Neon, we're gonna go to Buffalo Wild Wings and like kick back a couple. Are you want to come with us? Fuck, I would, but like I'm kind of waiting for to get blocked for these
I'm
guys.
transcribing the onomatopoeia of this stranger on the internet's.
Oh my God. But so he writes at the end of this article, he goes, God, I swear I have more testosterone flowing through my veins than all 5 of these hashtag mercenary propagandists put together.
I'm pissed off. We did not get fucking included. So this is Travis, Jordan, who else? Mike Rothschild, Will Sommer, and Jared Holt. Where is Jake and Julian? Okay, just because you couldn't figure out our last name, you can't try to dox us? Come on, man. Make a fucking effort, Neon Revolt.
Yeah, that sounds like a challenge. I'm totally not looking forward to when we do get doxxed.
We want the 5 to have no testosterone. 7.
Yeah,
sorry.
and like, you know what? Enjoy your testosterone, man, because you're gonna go bald before all of us. That's where that's where baldness comes from. If you have a lot of testosterone,
I'd say that testosterone for people like Neon Revolt is kind of a double-edged sword because you really want your balls to be swollen while you watch Wheel of Fortune all day.
Yeah, he's definitely not low T.
It's not like you're banging. If you have the time to put together what you do, Neon Revolt, I'm gonna say you're 5,000 words later. Not getting you any.
So he continues. He goes, "Look at what a bunch of weak little liars we have here. They deserve a name, I think. How about the hashtag mild bunch?"
Nice.
And all that's to say that these are the hashtag soy sapiens they're sending after you in order to terrorize, demonize, and demoralize you? These are the laughingstock hashtag astronauts.
Dude.
That's fucking great.
Hells yeah.
I love that. Who they're sending to intellectually intimidate you? Dude, we're not trying to intimidate you. Like, we're just... I'm triggered. And then he writes, It's laughable. It's an utterly laughable tactic, even though you ain't laughing, my dude.
Yeah, you're writing 5,000-word angry articles.
Yeah, I'm going home and playing Red Dead Redemption until the fucking sun goes down.
This is exactly the conservative thing where it's like, oh, that is so laughable, isn't it? Oh, God. And you just like fucking vein on your forehead and you're trying to act like you're laughing, bitch.
And he goes, but the only way it ends is if you, all caps, stand up and call out their hypocrisy and their lies and distortions.
Yes.
I would love. Yeah,
Hashtag
I would love.
QAnon Anonymous, at QAnon Anonymous.
Yes.
Post that we are distorting reality. Post that we are lying to everybody. Please post about our podcast.
Yes, post our lies.
You have to take us seriously. We are a threat to your existence.
Post the lies, and if you want, and if you want to hear more lies to gather for your, compendium, please donate anything you can. www.patreon.com/QAnonAnonymous.
That triggers us so bad.
$5, even a $10 donation will
God.
guarantee that we keep spewing lies,
If
disinformation.
you keep sending us money, we're going to keep sending triggered signals to you, and you're going to feel happy because it's the only way you still feel joy.
And then Mr. Revolt writes, remember that hashtag righteous anger I was talking about? Yeah, get yourself some. Then channel, direct, and focus it. Why I'm still the only major pro-QAnon guy calling these reprehensible con artists out is beyond me. It's time for you all to step up. And yeah, I'm including the other big pro-Q names out there.
Yes, start posting about the
Yes.
QAnon Anonymous podcast.
Please.
Big names.
Praying medic, if you could like post
Praying
about us, that'd be
medic.
amazing.
Yes.
Hey, praying medic, more like praying pedic. End of story. Come at us, bitch.
Whatever medium you work in, be it text, on forums, through video, or podcast.
You know, the places where you wage war.
It's like text, forums, video, podcast, text, forums, video, or podcast. It's time to start speaking out against these deceivers. It's not enough to just stick with trying to decipher Q and hoping the military and Trump will just magically solve everything. It's time to start going on the offensive in the war of ideas.
But this guy literally thinks, this guy thinks that we are in a war against Trump, the military, and QAnon followers.
Dude.
And he thinks that we're scared of the QAnon followers? If the U.S. military comes after us, we're fucked. And so are you, you dumb dipshit.
And then he writes, it's time to start calling out the hypocrisy and double standards on social media. These jackbooted cracker jacks.
Neon Revolt is the old chewing gum you would find in baseball cards when you were a kid. Fucking unchewable, no flavor, but he's always there.
Dry, crusty,
Yeah, says shit like jackboot cracker.
breaks in half very easily, crumbles in your jean pocket.
Dusty somehow, really dusty.
He writes, pop that bubble and disabuse them of any and all illusions.
Yes, that's correctly written.
Hold them to a standard. Use their own words against them, because they certainly aren't going to hold themselves to any standard. No tactic is too low for them. They are not the majority. They never were. And when this is all over, they will bend the knee. See, I'm doing you a fucking favor,
Bend
dude.
the knee.
I'm doing you a fucking favor, dude, and reading you your own bullshit way cooler than you like.
Yeah.
Like if he was reading it, it'd probably sound something more like, and when this is all over, they will bend the knee.
Neon Revolt, I am going to pack you into a human-sized potato gun and shoot you into the side of one of those little windmills, and you're going to get caught in the mechanism, and the windmill is going to paddle you over and over like the little baby that you are, and we're all going to laugh, and we're going to put a little sucker in your mouth.
Yeah, because you know what? Julian's not afraid to go violent rhetoric.
I will literally get an Acme anvil, and I'm going to drop it on you from incredibly high.
Yeah, you guys may not be violent, but we definitely
That's correct.
have
I
no
am
problem
calling-
getting a crate of cartoon dynamite.
We want the end result for it. We want your hair to be frizzy and black, and we want little birds to be turning around your fucking head, dude.
Yeah.
That's how violent we are. We're gonna destroy you.
Yeah, we're going to lower you into a steaming pile of dip and then run over you with a steamroller and watch your cartoon chair and watch your cartoon ghost slowly rise out of your body.
Yeah, interesting is that this is like a change in tactic from like QAnon people, because usually they welcome criticism, they welcome attention.
Yes.
like their whole is like whenever like a mainstream media outlet writes about QAnon, it's always all for a LARP, and like that's the extent of their criticism of the
Right.
article.
They usually ignore shills. In fact, it's a policy.
Yeah, policy. It's like all shills are stupid. They don't know what they're talking
dude?
about, and we must be over the target if we're getting this much attention. They welcome it. This is like, keep it up, keep red pilling more people by talking about us more.
I think honestly, what it is.
The metrics are down.
Yeah, I think
The metrics are down,
I
and they
think-
need a fight. They need a beef.
And I think
Yes.
that I think as time goes on, it gets harder and harder to
keep
sort
it
of
up.
justify. Anyway, so he concludes with this statement: "And when this is all over, they will bend the knee, or they'll never be able to find dignified work ever again." Because that's not true, man. Being anti-Q tremendously helps my career in
And
Hollywood.
also, no one in this country really can find dignified work, so it's not really about us.
They'll never be able to find dignified work ever again, because everyone in the country will know of their stupidity and their treachery. So to answer my earlier question, do you believe we can win? Oh, my friends, I believe we can do so much more than win. I believe we are already winning, and we will send anyone who attempts to oppose us running for the hills with their tail tucked between their legs.
Run for the hills, run for your lives.
Neon Revolt, Neon Revolt, Neon Revolt.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another week of QAnon Anonymous. We have a mailbag segment. You can send any and all questions to QAnonAnonymous@gmail.com. We will answer them on the podcast without doxing you. You definitely should follow Travis View. He is Travis_View on Twitter. Also known as Tapwater Goblin, also known as Rat Tail Travis. Travis, thank you so much for coming on for another week
It's amazing as always.
of pretending you're a guest instead of, at this point, part of the podcast. Our Twitter is @QAnon Anonymous. We don't run any advertising on our podcast. We are supported by you, our lovely listeners. Our Patreon is patreon.com/QAnon Anonymous. If you pay $5 a month, you'll get access to our premium episodes and give the show a chance to grow and put out even more stuff. Our latest episode is on the amazing grifter that is Education for Libs, and my God, we have some first-hand documents, police records, etc.
It's going to be real good. I'd like to say a hearty shout out to our current supporters: Andrew F., Bullywhiff the Great, Carson P., the Feared, Chris M., the Gracious, Eric O., the Omnipotent, Jared M., the Master, John S., the Slayer, Jonathan S., the Giant, Kaya B., the Brave, Linda R., the Revolted, and the Shitcast. Damn it, fuck! And the Shitpost Podcast.
If you can't afford to support us financially, you can always help by telling friends about us, posting about us on social media and message boards, Reddit, etc. If you haven't already, go on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. We must defeat the Q-Believer Boomer Militias. Jake, thank you for renting a plane just so you could attach a flag to it that says "I love Julian" and fly it around Milwaukee for 7 hours last Tuesday.
No problem. Listener, we'll see you around the bend. And may the deep dish bless you and keep you.